Hey Skyfarers, and welcome to Aethercast, the Kharadron Overlords podcast. I'm Lee, the Arcanate Admiral, and I am joined today by a selection of great Admirals from the Mortal Realms. We have resident Sky Warden, Adeptus Dices.
What's up, guys?
How are you?
I'm doing great. Lockdown as probably most of the world right now, but still trying to occupy myself, try to play some games online, stuff like that. That's basically it. That's all we can do.
Yeah. Cool. If you can play games online, that's better than some people can manage. So, yeah. Also joined by, you know him, you love him. He's our Thunderer from Down Under on the gun deck for us today. Our gunnery sergeant, Mr. Alexander Cron.
Hey.
How are you, Cron?
Going well. Getting just waiting for that FAQ. Gonna make lists. Come on.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know that feeling. Oh, you've just been talking about going to tournaments.
Oh yeah. So we've got some tournaments coming up in Australia. We're kind of we've So we've got I've got a tournament coming up in March. Hopefully nothing goes awry. Getting things ready at the moment. Still going with the Zilfin bomb, but we'll see what changes. There was a little mini tournament down here, just a local 1,000 points, get people interested in the game kind of tournament. And the guy who won, ran a Kharadron Overlords list with Thunderix Profiteers in a gun hauler. So that was really cool to see. Finally got the idea from us. So good job, Leon.
Cool.
Well done.
Awesome.
Is that Leon from... Do you know his surname?
I don't know.
There's a Leon in the Facebook group, so it could be him.
Could be.
But there are probably several Leons in the world, rather than just one, so...
No, just the one. There's only one Leon in the entire...
One KO Leon, at least.
Well, let's introduce the mercenaries that we've brought in, the Tinfoil Hat Brigade. Do you want to explain yourselves, guys?
Do you want to explain why you're not wearing a hat?
Because I forgot.
It's prediction time. We need the tinfoil for speculation and all the crazy ideas we have.
I don't want Games Workshop to log into my brain and steal all the ideas that I don't want them to do. So I'm going to protect my brain waves from Games Workshop's secret mind-reading technology. So the question really is, why aren't we? The question really isn't, why are we wearing tinfoil hats? Why are you guys not wearing your tinfoil hats?
Because
unless
we're
you're on their
beings.
side. Are you on their side? Okay.
We are all minions of each, obviously.
Wow. Lee lives in England, so your country is already controlled by Games Workshop, isn't it? It's bigger than the fishing industry.
Yes, it is bigger than the fishing industry, actually. And it will probably be a lot bigger than the fishing industry soon. And that's about as far as I go. For anyone that hasn't seen the show before, I should probably actually introduce you properly. You are, of course, Duardin Max, our Duardin Prime, really.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Fire
protection is important, kids. Wear your tinfoil hats. We're gonna go through some wild speculation tonight. Just need to keep all the brainwaves inside.
Just before I introduce Matt properly, I will point out that tinfoil is not a good method of protection for all things. Doesn't necessarily work for everything. Just, put that out there.
It works for all the right things.
Yeah, okay. And Matt, is this your third time on the show now?
Third time's a charm. First two didn't made a fool of myself, and hopefully won't do that again this time. No, I'm just kidding. No, thanks a lot for having me on the show again. Wearing my totally normal, regular, everyday apparel. No, but I'm really excited to talk what the upcoming FAQ could bring for Kharadron Overlords, and what we think are some changes and what is actually going to happen.
Cool.
Well, I definitely like the spirit, like anti-Sylvaneth with your tree removal sign in the back. That's the Dwarven spirit.
Yeah, I got the chainsaw ready to go. I already cut down a Spirit of Durthu right there against the side, and I have his leg as a trophy, and pulled a hornet's nest out of one of the wildwoods.
Drycha.
Gotcha, probably, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I killed Drycha too. And stole a hornet. I just wanted a bit more of a stable connection, so.
Well, it seems to be working so far. So, if you teleport outside again,
seriously, if the timing is right and we do a How to Beat Sylvaneth show, I am going to be from the top of an oak tree. It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
How to Beat Sylvaneth. First, you take your chainsaw, then
get your ending riggers.
Chainsaw goes.
And then if I fall out of the tree, I'm sure the podcast would get a lot of views. So
yeah, I'll do a little clip. I'll edit out a clip and just have it on YouTube and I get like 1 million views. It would say something like Warhammer nerd falls out of a tree or something.
Yeah, it'll be on some like OSHA violation compilation on YouTube.
Okay, let's crack on then. There's no news, really, is there?
I don't think so.
No.
Still waiting on the FAQ. That's probably the best news we'll get in a few weeks. Maybe next week if we're lucky.
Yeah, we don't know when it's going to be. Before the end of the month is all we know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then just waiting on the Slaanesh Battle Tome and all the new releases with the Mortals. I'll be very interested to see some of the changes and how they obviously learned from their mistakes with everything that went on with the first Battle Tome, and let's see if they can put their corrections in action.
I'm seeing those archers, and I'm thinking it's going to be they're going to join the shooting meta. We're going to get a shoot meta Slaanesh.
Summoning
My prediction.
Summoning archers. Holy shit! Yeah,
it'll probably work. Right. It'll probably work a lot like the Maggotins, where you can't summon mortals, right? But you'll be able to summon the demons, and the mortals are the ones that are doing the summoning or have the summoning mechanic.
That would make sense.
Could be interesting to see what they come up.
Yeah. Wait and see, I guess. So we're going to start with points changes. We've got a little interactive poll that you can join in with if you're in the chat. Works similar to the quiz. If you watch that show, there's multiple choice. You just put answer 1, 2, 3, or 4 for what you want. Because it's multiple choice, obviously, the exact points that you think something should be might not be on there. But yeah, I'm just worried now. Can you guys actually see the countdown?
No.
Countdown?
No.
No, we're not seeing it.
Oh, damn.
There we go.
Yes.
Now we're good.
Awesome.
That's better. Yeah, it was nearly down to 1. And I was like, oh, it's not come up yet. So, yeah. I've put what I think are some reasonable suggestions. Generally, what do you think points changes will work? Do we all think points are roughly likely to go up?
I'm not seeing it, to be honest. I mean, what are the main offenders of the book? The main offender is probably the Zilfin footnote. That's going to be a FAQ. That's for sure. Maybe the Ironclad will get a point hike, but frankly, I don't see riggers, thunderers, wardens, arcanauts, getting point hikes. But I definitely could see maybe the chemist will be my main offender. Maybe
Yeah.
going up by 10 or 20 points, even maybe 30 points. That'd be
Yeah.
my guess.
Okay. So we've got the Admiral first. So if you're in the chat, stick in your answer what you think it's going to be. We've got obviously on all of these we've got the current points as an option if you don't think it's going to change. And I think I've mostly put points decreases for him because you don't see him in any lists mostly.
I reckon it's going to stay the same.
So, guys,
would-
I'm keeping track of our answers so we can compare next show when we get the FAQ. So just tell me what you choose.
I'll go with
and
3.
why, which is 120.
It's going to stay the same, yeah.
Max, since we're both wearing tinfoil hats, can't we like communicate telepathically?
Yeah, I already told you. Didn't you hear me?
Surely the team board's going to stop that happening.
Yeah, I think he stays the same. To be honest with you, I think he works in some lists.
Worked.
Yeah, I think he works in some lists. He's not necessarily an auto include. I think he's got some play with his run and shoot command ability, but it's pretty limited. I could even see him going down to 110, but I think he stays the same. I don't think he's really committed it for low.
The chat agrees with you guys. Lots of 3s and 4s.
Lots of 3s and 4s. Obviously, no one's voting for him to go up, which isn't a surprise.
I think he's solid. For 120, he's solid. He has some power. Lee, what's your answer?
I think I will go for 120, staying the same.
Mm-hmm.
On the chat
Yeah.
as well, so it goes into
I feel like we're saying the same here.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see just what the
Let's see
outcome was,
popular
whether it's 4 or 3. Oh, Ares coach snuck in there at the end with
Yes.
points increase.
I mean, 120 points. He can hit quite hard, and he has some good buffing if the standard things go away. So yeah.
AOS coach, 140 points increase.
Oh, he's trying to skew the results.
So it looks like we've got a draw 5 and 5.
Stop the
But I'm
count.
not sure actually how that works. I might have made a bit of a mistake in the poll. It actually only, I think it might be capped at how many it shows for the answer. But okay. So next up we have the navigator.
Ooh, he does get used a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, but again, he's not a main offender. I mean, he got some nice rules, some nice artifacts, but he's not that obscene. I would stay with number 2, 100 points current.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, halving movement and in Mornar with that artifact, he's strong. But in other lists, you could run the list without him. So
there you go.
I agree. 100 points for a foot hero. He has a 3+ save. He's a good foot hero. But yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't do much. He doesn't do damage.
Yep.
I think he'll stay the same at 100 points, along with I think what's going to probably be the next poll selection. He has a half move, or you could take the Engine Master for heals, and they're pretty. So you can either heal a boat or have. I think it's a nice ability. It only affects flyers, so there's definitely some restrictions on it. 100 points, stay the same.
I agree.
Yeah. I reckon he's going to stay the same. That's my vote. Number 2. By the way, for all of these, if there has been if there was a points change in the GHB, I've always made sure to put the option of what it was in the battle tome, in case there's like points change remorse from Games Workshop. You might see some things just go back to what they were.
Kron, what's your choice?
He gets used. He does get used a lot, but I don't think he's going to change.
Okay.
Well,
we're not going to find a winner like this because we all just agree on all the points.
Well, it will be, the 1 or 2 where we disagree. That will be the decider then. I mean, there are some that are just like, it doesn't really matter. And then there are some where you might get some division on, like the chemist or the ships maybe. So, and then all of these, we kind of want to do them from the perspective of, what we think they should do, not what we want them to do necessarily, because we just do what we want them to do. then we'll vote for
Points
it.
decreases for everyone.
Yeah,
That's-
exactly. So next up, the chemist. This could be a divisive one, I think.
Well, see, I would have picked like 110, but since that answer is not possible, that's the only answer that is not possible. I'll go with 120 or higher.
Although
But-
it is possible on my sheet.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'll go with.
Yeah.
I still go with 120.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. I
I
think
did
he'll
it-
go up, but not as much. Maybe 100.
So you guys think he'll
Yeah.
go up in points, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's the spell in a bottle problem, so to say.
Mm,
I think because he deals out a -1 to hit in combat, he also buffs a unit to reroll 1s to wound, which
Yeah.
is a great buff. And he can take the spell in the bottle. Not that you have to, but you can take probably one of the best artifacts in the game.
Yeah.
Having 3 great abilities, he's got to go up in points.
Yeah, and since he's one of the main offenders of the Zilfin list, the chemist, the rule, and maybe the ironclad. So I think that these 3 things will get nerfed. So the chemist will go up, the ironclad might go up, and then the rule will get FAQ'd.
yeah.
That's what I
That's the modus operandi for when GW wants to nerf a build. They hit you with points, they hit you with rules, and then they hit you with some other facet of whatever's being abused. So you can't just sort of squeeze part of the balloon and then it goes somewhere else and you just get around it. They're going to make sure that they put a stop to it.
Yeah.
I agree.
So what do you guys think?
Well, I've voted for 4 because I think it'll be a classic Games Workshop overreaction. Because that's what they do, isn't it? I would like to see him stay the same and they do something more towards putting the battalions up, because it's Zilfin spelling a bottle that's a problem. Spelling a bottle on its own is not a problem. You can't get. You need either collector or a battalion in Zilfin to get it, don't you? So.
So, Alex, what do you think?
I think he might still stay the same regardless. I think he might actually get hit with rules changes instead.
I don't see it.
We'll see.
So the next up, we have the Endrin Master of Endrin Harness. So the foot one.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Number 2.
Yeah. I
Solid.
think that's
Yeah, I don't
Simple.
see I don't think I don't see Ender Master get taken with any lists at the moment. Really,
There's a few.
I use it in Zon. I like it a lot.
I played against an eel spam list with Volturnus, and he left a spot for me to redeploy, and was able to hit Volturnus with the Engine Master's Hammer. Rolled 3 6s and killed him instantly. So I guess that guy would. My friend Andrew might say 120 or higher, but I'm going to stay with number 2. He stays current.
Yeah, I'd vote for number 2, staying the same. I would like to see him drop to 90, maybe, but I don't think Games Workshop would do it.
So that he get used more.
Dude,
Maybe.
a gold share with that hammer is so good.
And in Zon with the Aethercast hammer,
Oh,
5 attacks.
yeah.
So there are some combos. There are some tricks to have. I think he's very underrated. I like him a lot. So, but he's not multitasking, right? His healing ability is subpar, and his his combat prowess is again very dicey. So I think 100 is a perfect price.
yeah. Ender Master stays the same.
Yeah.
Also, his command ability is good if you want to have some extra heals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking at the chat, we've got 2s all over the shop. So looks like there's a big consensus there. A couple of 1s, which is asking for him to go to 90 or lower. So, but mostly 2s.
Yeah.
Nice.
What have we got next? Probably the dirigible suit is next, I think. Yes.
Ooh, 180. Yes. Please.
Yes, make him go down in points. He's too many points right now. Not enough people take him. Make him go down.
Wait, are you guys being serious or are you being sarcastic?
Nah, we're being wishful.
Super sarcastic.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, people take him and he's good, but
Is it
I really
every
I mean,
list of mine?
he certainly wasn't worth 220 points
No.
when he first came
Oh.
out. He
Well,
certainly wasn't.
I think
I still use him.
Again,
I think he's-
make Skyrigger's battle line. That's got to count for something, right?
Yeah,
So
that's.
I'm afraid they put him at 200.
I'm gonna say 200, but it should stay current. But I'm gonna say 200.
I think he should come down to 180, but I think he's going to stay current. So 3 is going to be my vote. But honestly, I know he flat heals 3. He has the command ability. He has decent shooting. And aside from making Engine Rigger's battle line, I'd rather just take a regular Engine Master on foot with that hammer. And so I don't know. I think he'll stay current, but I wish it would go down to 180.
But that guy with Grudge Bearer trait, he's such a wrecking ball.
he's fast.
Really?
He can get
He's
where he needs
so
to be.
good. And he has good
yeah,
artifact.
Yeah, with the Grudge Bearer trait, he's amazing.
Double all his damage, and he has so many attacks. Like he can do like 20 damage.
Yeah, and 8 wounds is nothing to sneeze at.
With a 3-up
That's pretty
save.
good.
Yeah.
Because the other Ender Master only has a 4-up save. So
That's a big difference.
And the
my
flat
call is
free
going
healing.
up to 220. I think he's going to go back to what he was.
Go back.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, this,
I'm gonna stick with 200.
this will be
Really?
one where we might get. I voted for 200 in the poll because I don't think he needs to go up, but he needs to be more points than Brock, and I don't see them, putting Brock really.
I need to
And
put
Brock should be
down.
like 120. Is that it?
Yeah.
Brock
So-
suffers
If
from.
Brock goes
I-
to 180, I'd
Yeah.
consider it because he has like the mortal wound impact when he charges in.
Yeah.
That reroll charge is okay, but the stupid thing is it's only Barknar, so who's ever going to play?
Well,
Speaking
here
of
we
Brock
are. with a great
Johnson,
segue. Yeah.
So
Brock, such a cool model.
Honestly,
Must have count.
if Brock was 70 points, I still wouldn't take him. I mean, he suffers from that problem where even if he was like an absurdly, ridiculously low points cost, which he never would be, he still wouldn't have a role, and that's his major problem. Is he doesn't have a role. If he kept his ability to allow a unit of engine riggers to run and still charge, well, then he's got a role. He's got something that no other unit in the battle tone gives you. Even if it was just Barrack Nar, he would still have a role.
No.
And also
It's just
give you some
Barknar,
more-
like, screw that shit.
And if he could have the same effect as the Entry Master, like unlocking Skyriggers as battle line, that would be something as well.
Yeah.
But
That's another great point.
yeah, so I would say, I think he
4.
should be lower. I think he should be at 180, but he's not gonna be because the regular one is probably gonna go up. I'm gonna say number 2 is gonna stay at 210. I don't think there's a case of a named character being cheaper than the standard one. So I'm gonna say 210.
If the normal one goes up, there's no argument for him to go down.
Yeah.
I would have said 200, but you're correct, Alex. If the other one goes up, yeah, he's gonna stay the same.
I think so.
Yeah. I
say-
think Brock's gonna. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not gonna make him less points than the Endwin Master
Nah.
because he's Brock. He's supposed to be our big character who leads the faction.
Yep.
But
I mean, even if Lee had said if he was a combat beast, just like a complete manimal in melee, then he has a role to play, right? Like you can charge him in and just tear shit up, but he doesn't even do that. So I think he's going to go down, even though he would be cheaper than the base Engine Master and Dirigible suit. I think Games Workshop is going to choose the pretty smooth brain option there and just drop the points because they don't see him on the table. Or they could say he sells and he sold a lot of models because he's a great model and we don't need him. We don't need him.
But going down to 200 or more than that, not.
I think he would go down to like 180, maybe even 170.
Okay, and Lee, what do you think?
If we're predicting, then I predict that it goes to 200. I would like him to drop to 180, but what I'd really like is a rules change, but we're definitely not going to get that. So,
Oh, Fundrick.
yeah,
No,
Fundrick.
they're gonna stay the same.
Yeah.
They don't see much play. They're not broken. They're not bad. I think it's a correct choice. But then again, if the chemist does
That's
go
what I
up,
was going to say. Yeah.
Mm.
Go ahead.
This might
Finish your thought,
change
I'm
with the
sorry.
chemist.
yeah.
Hmm.
But
Well,
again,
he is a chemist, but he does reroll once to hit, and he can't take artifacts. So,
and he can't
Adept-
get a command trait as well.
yeah,
Adeptus,
there's
Adeptus, I want you to finish what you're going to say because you're about to make a great point.
Well, I think that if the chemist does go up, I mean, I think you have to give them a point rise as well. But I don't see it because the drawback of losing a command trait, of losing an artifact of power, that's what makes the chemist great. Yeah, his ability is cool, are cool, but I think what makes the regular chemist great is definitely the artifact and the possibility of a command trait to gain another artifact with collector. So I'm gonna say 3 is gonna stay the same.
I think he's going to stay the same too. But if they bump the chemist up to 120 points, I've been writing a lot of lists without spell in the bottle. At that point, I'm taking Thundrick for the reroll once to hit, which is already great. But then also to get the five other A team members, and so they got to be careful what they do with the chemist that'll affect Brock or Thundrick here.
And the fact that he's only Baraknar, so that does hold you back a bit.
Elite abilities, so
Kron, what do you think?
I reckon I think he's going to stay the same because I said I think the chemist is going to stay the same.
Yeah,
So
so
we're
they usually don't change like these underworld warbands.
No, they usually just slap in and leave.
They leave them.
I think my A team reference was lost on mostly our international audience.
Honestly, I got it. Thank you very much.
If you put him in a gun hauler with the collapsible compartments, then it really is the freaking A team just rolling
as
up
long
in
as
their
you put
van.
a black and a red stripe down the side, and you're fine.
Yes.
Okay. So we've done the heroes. We're moving on to units. Arcanaut comes in first.
Give me horde discounts.
We might get it. I would.
But for Arcanauts,
that would be possible. I think they're gonna stay at 90, but I could see a horde discount. To be honest,
that would be so money, and I could just laugh in the face of a couple of people who told me why I should be buying more Arcanauts, even though I had 50.
I have 120 Arcanauts. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this.
Even though
Skyhooks were 1 per 10, I needed 12.
I started with 80 or 90. I got so mad when the new tome came out. I sold all of them but 10. And then I've been slowly buying another box and another box and another box.
Okay.
So my answer is 3.
All right. So what do we think?
3. Put me down for 3.
I vote for 3.
I don't think they'll do.
Need it, but I can't see them put them down to 80 because they're already massively efficient. So
I want 3. I want 3, but I think it's going to just stay the same.
Depends when we're doing predictions or what we want to see.
If we were wish listing, 3. If we're predicting, 4.
Yeah, probably will be 4.
And to be honest, it would make sense to give them a horde discount. I mean, we didn't get it in the last book, where it was a good thing to have a squad of 30 or 40, but now it's not really an issue anymore because they're not that efficient. But still, that small discount could be something interesting for list building.
But that's the thing with Games Workshop. In recent books, they've moved away from horde discounts because we had a meta where hordes were just so good, and then everyone complained. And I think the most recent books, there are no horde discounts in there. Not even Marauders have a horde discount.
Hordes have a natural synergy with the core mechanic of how to score objectives. So if you're already incentivized to take more models, and then you're incentivized on top of that as a points reduction, it's sort of a compounding.
Max, you just convinced me. Put me down to 4. I'm going to change my vote.
Look at that!
No horde discount.
Okay.
And I looked at Ardboys. Ardboys were 100 points. They were 90, and they went up to 100.
Although they were semi-broken.
Yeah, but then they lowered the other ones, the brutes.
Because of the battalion.
Do you have no option here for what if Thunders went up in points?
Do I not?
Thunderers
No.
up. No, please don't.
No, I don't see them going up though.
I'm gonna, yeah, I think they're gonna stay the same. I'm gonna
I
go
mean,
I don't see
three.
him going down.
Give me that horde discount. Sweet.
No,
sweet,
you won't get it.
See, I
sweet.
think
won't
the
get
key thing is the question is how many points should they be? And honestly, I don't see why Thunders aren't 110 points.
Really?
It's
I don't-
five people. Yeah.
I'm overly critical of Thunderers. I know a lot of people love them. Stick 10 in a boat, in a frigate, in an ironclad, whatever you want. I don't
Keep going up.
value their relatively low damage output. They're pointed so high because they're 2 wounds with a -1 save or -1 to hit, with possibly another -1 from the chemist. They don't do enough.
4 up rerollable save.
Yeah, they're very tough and resilient, but they simply, for me, don't do enough damage to justify a quarter, almost an eighth of your army for 10 of them. And for me, that's so. I think they should be one.
Also,
It's
Stone Guard, like 5 of Stone Guard, they're 110? I think.
How much are Iron Drakes?
Iron Drakes?
150.
Wow.
10, 150, but they're so much better. Iron Drake.
And that's Cities of Sigmar. The Cities of Sigmar just get screwed over as a rule.
Iron Drakes are better, but they're better because they have so many more buffs within cities and ways to buff them, as opposed to just
So much
taking them as like an ally.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
with
gentlemen,
Thunder,
I need
they're
your votes.
kind of hard to price because you get so many rolls with them. You can stick them in the boat, or you can go out of the boat with all the special weapons and everything. So they're kind of hard to price because of that, I think.
Okay. So,
So-
Alex, you think they stay the same?
Stay the same. Yep.
And
The chat is
yeah,
largely staying the same.
Max, my answer was I think they should be 110.
yes, I wrote that. Adeptus, what was your tip?
3, they're still the same.
Okay, yeah, I'm afraid they stay the same. Although, what Matt said, like in low volume, if they're not 20 outside the boat with special weapons, I don't think. How many points should Skyward?
I'll go with 1. They're gonna
Yes.
drop
Should be, yes, they should.
because I think the riggers are gonna stay the same.
Will they drop?
This one is on a nice edge because it depends what they do with riggers. If riggers go up, then they stay the same. If these drop, then riggers will stay the same. I think so. It's if you get this one wrong, then you get the next one wrong as well.
Yep.
Or you get this one right, then you get the next one right. So
And my wild guess would be, and we talked about it on the Ethercast chat, but I wouldn't be shocked to see that Sky Wardens would become Battle Line if KO or Battle Line Zon.
Ooh.
Makes some kind of sense. You're gonna stay. You're gonna leave it at 100 for 3, but you give them that little edge on riggers. Battle Line Zon or Battle Line KO.
That's a great point. If they were just battle lines on or KO,
Yep.
they could stay the same. Otherwise,
think so.
honestly, you could drop them to 80 points.
Yep.
If you kept riggers the same, you could drop them to 80 points for 3.
Yep.
And I don't think that would be that bad of a thing. You know, they generally like to do very slow points changes, except for our last great
Well,
General's
they do
Handbook. Somebody a bunch
like
of
a
drugs
20
and
drop thing. They stick to. They quite often do like a 20 point up or down. Like if things are in an army are generally on even numbers, then they generally do like a 20, like a keep it to an even number. And if they're generally in an odd number, then they generally keep things to an odd number, don't they? So,
So, Matt, it's not what they should be, but what do you predict?
I think it'll. The question is that what they should be, and I think they should be number 1.
So 90. Okay. Kron?
I think they're going to stay the same. I think it's going to be riggers that go up because it was riggers that was shown to them on the meta report on the
By whom?
first.
By whom?
Not me. I showed them Thunders. I showed them Thunders. You can talk to AOS Shorts about his riggers list that he gave to them.
Oh no!
So
don't
I
do
think
this to me.
riggers are going to be 120. That's what's going to happen.
Oh,
They saw.
no.
What does every Kharadron Overlord list look like? Oh, it's an ironclad with 3 squads of 6 riggers.
Oh, they're gonna put them
points.
If I picked the Wardens to go down, so I'm gonna pick the riggers to stay the same. But as Lee pointed out, if riggers do go up, I think the Wardens will stay the same. So as you said, I think if you pick the first one wrong, you'll get the second one wrong as well. So I'll stick to 2. They're gonna stay at 100.
I think that they are going to put them up to 110, and it's going to piss me off so much because every single one of my lists has a unit of 12, so my list instantly goes up 40 points.
Yeah.
I love that gold.
I'm gonna go further. I'm gonna say they screw this up and go 120.
Yeah,
I'm going to say 120.
I'm gonna say 110. I love 12 riggers with 4 volley guns and a gold share. I freaking love that combo so much, and it always does so well. But everybody uses them, and that's what GW's metric is. Are they used in every list? Well, then they're clearly good and need to go up.
Yeah.
So Lee,
So the real question is, yeah.
Lee,
I'd vote for 1 because it's how I'd realise how the way I phrase the question is how many points should they be. So I'm going to go for 1 because that's how many points I think they should be. Because I don't think
that's for the quiz, but for the predictions, I need what you think will happen.
Well, if it's a prediction, then I'll go for 120 because that's what I think Games Workshop would do. But I think they should be 110 because Games Workshop love their even numbers.
And help me out. What did you predict for the Sky Wardens?
For myself, I think I put 90 in the quiz, but I reckon they will stay the same.
Okay.
From prediction point of view.
Max, I'm getting killed on one of my chats for wearing not a tinfoil hat, but a hat covered in tinfoil.
That's not a hat. What? No, you made that yourself. Like that is a pure tinfoil construction that you have created by yourself. Anyone who says otherwise is a conspiracy theorist. This is. Oh.
The chat on that last one mostly went for 110. I think that's people going for the lesser of evils because they don't want them to be 120.
But they're gonna do it
I
at
think
120. Yeah.
Right.
I think this thing is going to go up because it is our single best war scroll in the entire book. Without Kharadron Overlord faction, that gets taken by everybody. Everyone takes gun haulers because they're that good.
You see, I kind of disagree because like most great lists right now, it's Sky Command with a single boat and maybe 1 gun hauler.
No,
So,
always second gun hauler.
I don't know. I play as
one
one
thing I
so
put
I'm
in every
sold. I'm sold. They should be 150, but I think they're gonna stay the same.
Okay.
I think they should be 150, but I think they're gonna go to 140. I think they deserve to be more points than they are, but I don't think that they're just gonna go pendulum right back. I think that almost that to Games Workshop would feel like, they don't like admitting mistakes, and that would be admitting a mistake that we dropped them by too much.
Yeah.
See,
So how much are the new Shadow Stalkers? Because they can do the same. They're 9 people. So 9
They're
wounds,
100 points.
teleport.
No, the Shadow Stalkers are 100. They're very cheap.
So 100.
They're
9
very cheap.
wounds on a 5+, and they can teleport. So basically, they do something
technically 12 wounds. The leader in the Shadow Stalkers has 3 wounds.
So yeah, 12 wounds teleporting, and I think they have a 5+ save.
I'll think. I'll
And you
think
can buff
considered.
them bad.
They're still.
And then -1 to be hitting combat, and they can do mortal wounds. And Shadow Stalkers are really good for their points.
So they're comparable to a gun hauler. So either they need to go up or the gun hauler stays. But
I think they're probably.
I'm gonna go to 140. Yeah. How much up?
Yes.
140.
Side predictions: Shadow Stalkers are also going to go up.
Ooh.
Extra points.
Everyone is pretty much voting for 140 there. I think that's a nice middle ground. 140.
I'm sticking with my 150.
Okay. Plus the extra point for Shadow Stalkers.
Yeah. Extra point.
Yes. Okay. I was waiting for this one.
Right. Oh, the frigate.
Less.
200 points.
Yes.
Gotta be.
Yes, Kron. Yes.
No one uses them.
You're a beautiful, intelligent individual.
They don't get used, do they? Like they're still.
Hello, long-time frigate user here. They're gonna stay the same. They're pretty good. You pay for transport, you pay for protection, you pay for I don't know, a good save, a lot of wounds, 14 wounds. I think that 220 is a good price. I'm
Okay.
gonna set to 20.
I honestly think 200 is the perfect price for them. 250 was obscene, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can only hold the number of models they do, so it doesn't allow you to take a unit of 10 and a hero, is a huge hindrance to their maximum effectiveness. If you could take 10 and a hero, I would have no problem paying the 220, but I really think they need to be and the carbines, they drop halfway from the ironclad. I think that's a bridge too far for me to I mean, I'm still planning on building mine and I'm going to enjoy playing them, but I think they need to be 200.
Okay, Matt, I need a number.
3.
A prediction number. You predict they go down. Okay.
I kind of been playing this halfway. Like half of the questions I answer what I want them to be, and half the questions I answer what they should be, and I'm going to be all over the map.
Okay, Lee, what do you predict?
I'm predicting 4 because I think the gun hauler is going to go up, and I think the ironclad's going to go up. So I think then relatively that will make the frigate the right points, because it's the same as gun wardens and riggers. It's the frigate needs to be pointed in accordance with the other ships.
Yeah.
And let's keep one thing in mind.
I'm going to say it's going to stay current. 220, number 4.
All right.
KO as a faction right now have a bad rep. So if we have too many point drops, even though they're warranted or they're not that big of a deal, it's going to send like a strange message that, well, it's one of the stronger factions, yet they do have some more point drops after the ones they had at the last FAQ. So be careful with the point drops, I think.
I don't think we're going to get really points drops in this. This is going to be a nerf KO FAQ. That's what this is.
I'm not sure if it's going to be a nerf because the army was good before GHB. Then Christmas came early. Everything went nuts. Everything went down. Wow, fantastic. If they put half of the things that went down back up, I'm still happy. I'm still a Admiral.
Did anybody see what the chat went with on the last one? Because I missed it.
Current. They voted for
current. Okay. Ironclad then.
Ironclad should go up to 500.
Okay. Yeah, I think
500. Nice even round number.
Yeah.
That is my vote as well. I don't want to see it go back to 510 was always weird.
It has to go up.
I think they go 490.
I mean, I think it should be 500 because in any of my games, my ironclad has never even come close to dying. So, I mean, I think it needs to be 500 points.
I think 490 because they just want to screw with your list that you end up like with, 2010 points.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah. So as Kyle pointed out in the chat, it is still a single model. So from an objective-based game,
yeah. It also depends what they do with garrisoning rules if they change that somehow.
Yeah. So we'll talk about rules changes in a minute, but points changes. If we don't know what rules changes are going to do we? So, but I think it does need a little bit of an increase. 510 was weird. I don't see them going higher than it was in the previous book. So, yeah, 490 is also weird.
And that's perfect for GW.
I mean, 460 would be lovely. You can have 3 in a list.
Yeah, almost everyone agrees.
500, yeah. So that is all the models. I think what we've got next is battalions. Because I think there does need to be some points changes for battalions. So these are the sort of things that people forget about when they talk about points changes. So
battalions are hard to gauge because I don't know that there's a way to really price them correctly. So, Iron Sky Command should go up based on the fact that it's the only one that allows you to do a single drop list or to be really low drop. It should go up, but will it go up? I'd say 120, just for reasons. It has to go up.
I think it should be 120 because it's really good. Immune to battle shock is always very nice, especially on durable units like Arcanaut Company. and engine riggers that flee from battle shock easily. I think it's a great buff, and it's most of your army. You're paying 50 points and you're getting a command point. So really, you're saying that all those other benefits, the extra artifact, the buff, the lower drops, is only worth 60 points at that point. No, it's got to go up to 120.
I think
Yeah, pardon me.
yeah. Oh, I'll go then. So I think it's worth 130, but for your sheet max, I think you should put 140 or maybe 150.
Whoa.
Because I think Games Workshop will go, well, this is the overpowered thing. This is what's giving them spell in a bottle. And then really, and we did see it in previous books. They weren't quite high on battalions at one point. This has been in the previous books. This battalion was at 150. So
the thing is, the battalion is not just drops and artifact, and I mean the battle shock immunity with a big base, 18 inches, is massive. It's also when building the list. So I need an extra battalion. What can I choose? And there's a minimum cost to each battalion, and this one already brings you, like, minimum cost brings you at, I think, over 1,000 points already. So if you make them too expensive, then it's not like reasonable to take them.
Yeah, like you said, you need a battalion. Okay, well, I don't want to build around an Iron Sky attack, so I'll just put in Iron Sky Command, get a couple heroes, get 1 unit engine riggers, and get what I need, the spell in the bottle.
I'm gonna go with 120 on the Iron Sky Command as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Attack squadron.
Should stay the same.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree as well.
yeah, I'm happy for it to stay the same because it's a couple of people take it, not many. It's got a really strong ability, but
frigate stock. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's got strong ability, but you're never going to build a low drop list around this unless you go double battalion, and that strong ability, it doesn't. It's competing with Fly High, which is free, because you can't do it. You can't get out after Fly High with it. So
I would like for this to stay the same, but I would like frigates to go down. So, having a 20-point drop on a frigate, so you're looking at a minimum 40 point. I think this would compete with. I would rather see Iron Sky Attack be buffed than Iron Sky Command be nerfed. I'd rather there be more competition between those battalions rather than just saying Iron Sky Command, we don't want you to take it. I'd rather say we want you to take Iron Sky Attack as a viable option to Iron Sky Command.
That's a good point.
So the internal balance, improve that, and that's something they've done like recently with the Morathi book for IDK and the Daughter. So maybe we'll see that. Like they try to learn and make things more like internally balanced, give you more options. Because that, in the end, I think Vince said this on his last show. If all books are internally balanced well, this will balance the entire game because you will see more variation from lists. It
becomes less rock paper scissors, right?
Yeah, it becomes less like there's one list to win or two lists to win, and you would only see those.
Yeah.
Grom, what do you think about it?
Yeah,
I reckon it might stay the same because because you don't see it much. Mm-hmm. I think they're gonna just kind of skim it by. I don't think they're gonna. Yeah, it's. I don't think this is gonna be nothing's gonna get buffed. I think in this thing, things are gonna either stay the same or they're gonna get more expensive.
Who's the madman that wanted it to go up?
I don't know. So escort wing
should be lower than Iron Sky Command, but it's not going to be. It's always been 10 points more than Iron Sky Command for no reason. I'm going to pick 120, so both Iron Sky Command and Escort Wing will be 120. But I fully expect it to follow the same points hike than the Iron Sky Command. So I'm gonna say 120, but it's probably gonna be 130 for no reason.
Escort Wing has always been very confusing for me. it seems like it's trying to be two different things, but it doesn't do either of them particularly well. Like it's trying to be a straight up blasty list, but then at the same time, it wants to incorporate a wide array of units, but not lower drops. So it feels like it's trying to be a little bit of Iron Sky Command and a little bit of Iron Sky Attack, but it really doesn't do. So, and it's trying to be a super blasty list, but it doesn't do either of them any particularly well. If you're playing, so I don't know. I think it should just stay the same. I think it's fine where it is. It's not a problem. Some people use it. That's great. I don't see an issue.
Okay, no, Lee, if you predicted already.
What I think it should be is 120, because what I think Iron Sky Command should be is 130, and I think it should be lower. Prediction-wise, I think it will probably go to 130.
Okay, and Alex?
I'm gonna say it's gonna stay. Oh no, it's 130. It's gonna go up.
Let's go up. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna change my pick
Everybody's
as well.
you
It's
guys
gonna
are
go
all
up.
shell shocked from the first Battle Tome FAQ. you're still
I still remember the chemist going up to 160 and getting an FAQ. So
I know.
I remember
you're all
the
still
dark
shell-shocked.
days.
Yeah, you're all shell shocked from.
We
that
don't talk
first
about
FAQ.
those days.
Oh no FAQ, Daddy, please not again.
right, so we've got some bonus questions. We didn't grab Armada because let's be
Why
honest.
what are we talking about the Skaven for? What have they got to do with anything?
Yes.
So I'll tell you, it will. That's not an option. It will go down, and I'll tell you why. Because Skaven players are so sad that they took away their 24-inch reach or 26 or what it was, and now they have to use Skitter Leap or do that ability from the big rat Warpseer. I don't know what's it called. The big guy who can deep strike 6 inches away and then throw it out. So I don't see putting it back up because that will screw Skaven over, and this is a Skaven spell.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay current because if you use I think you're spot on, Max, with your Skaven comment, but still I think it's a really powerful spell, so it's gonna stay the same, and it won't go up because of KO, because the chemist will go up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's gonna stay the same.
That's a great way to balance it, because
Mm-hmm.
if it goes up, then you're screwing Skaven, and if you go down to try to get Skaven to use it, you're buffing KO. So then you just buff the chemist, or you just increase the points on the chemist to nerf it in KO.
Another weird internal balance problem with KO though. It's like if you put spell in the bottom of the list, it's like, well, why wouldn't you take Warp Lightning Vortex? So if it doesn't change, you've got no reason to take other spells unless the other spells change points.
I know it's not going to be
another weird problem. So
I know it's not going to be on here. I would love to see the Realm Scourge Rupture go down simply for completely non-biased reasons. I'd never put that in any of my lists. No.
I think I've got to vote on that one. I honestly don't know what they're doing with the Warp Lightning Vortex. I think they're probably just. I reckon they hedge their bets and they go for 90.
Okay. Alex?
Yeah, I'm gonna same. I think just because of it is technically a Skaven spell, and we should be thinking of the Skaven book. They should be thinking of the Skaven book when they point it.
Yeah, I mean they can't ignore KO when they point it, so
they can't ignore KO when they point any endless spell. Which
they can't ignore KO when they change triumphs in the GHP. So
yeah. Okay, so
was that thing 50 points?
Yes,
really?
It was.
50 points.
It was so good.
It was
so good, but it's still offensive.
outrageous.
Even in a Slaves to Darkness list, if you play against a lot of wizards, it is an offensive thing. So I think it will go up even 100.
I think it's gonna stay current.
Okay.
Excuse me, gents. I'll be right back.
I think it's gonna stay current because I think it's 80 points is a good price, because if you buy that spell in a tournament setting, you might not go against a lot of wizards. There are more and more wizards in the game. That's true. Hence the rise to 80 points. But I think it's going to stay the same because it might be as effective against every army.
counter argument. It's not about how many wizards you face, but how many wizards you bring, put near to it, and how many endless spells. Now it's limited to 3, but I've seen lists with Archeon. You throw out 2 other endless spells, this one, plus then you have 2 or 3 wizards around, and the thing does like 6 plus D3 mortal wounds, which is
Whatever.
already egregious. So I think they'll put it up to 100.
Yeah, I think it needs a rules change because
Yeah.
it's got too much potential there, and I think it needs to just have something like if there's X amount of wizards nearby, then it does X amount of damage.
Or cap it to 2 or 3 wizards.
Yeah. So what it says if there's 2 or like X amount or more wizards, then it does this damage.
Or they do like D3 or D6, and that's it.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Lee?
I think they go for 90. I would like to see a rules change though, but will they? I don't know.
Alex, what do you think?
I think it's going to be 4. Is my
I'm gonna say current because I just don't know enough about the state of Slaves of Darkness and Zench to know like how they change it. 'Cause it's Zench that uses it the most, right?
Yeah, you need a Slaves to Darkness wizard to cast it. So Archeon or some other dude from there.
So, a sorcerer.
Chaos
It
Sorcerer.
it was also a lot more abusable before they changed the rule to limit your number of endless spells in an army to 3, because Zinch would just put out 6 endless spells and then blast something, and then next turn just automatically remove it and then recast it again. And they could move all the endless, but now you can only take 3 endless spells, so it's less abusable.
Yeah, I mean, if you throw a lot of horrors around it, they're all wizards. Like, you can abuse this. Be'lakor can cast it. So
Well, yeah, but horrors are 200 points for a unit, whereas you could get the same effect from the Demon Rift from like a 10-point Malevolent Maelstrom. So like that.
Yeah.
So they were putting out just like 12 endless spells and then blasting something.
it then accumulates if you're then facing like a Lumineth list where everyone's a wizard, plus they brought 2 endless spells. Not that I've done this, but the thing did like 30 mortal wounds in a round. So yes, it's a good thing, but it's a very corner case. But Matt, so you think it stays the same?
No, I think it should go up to 90.
90. Okay.
I think it's still incredibly strong, and I think it's bad because it just reduces some armies to dust, and then some armies it does literally nothing to. So I think it's I think he should be punished for having an ability that just completely tackles 1 or 2 builds.
Do we know of any endless spells that cost more than 100?
No, 100 is the limit. That's for the Everblaze Comet and such.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I think 100 has been the most. So, it's just one of these weird things that because it's not just doing a large amount of damage, but to every unit it's passed over as well. So if you really can get it to high damage, and then it passes over like 5 units, it just multiplies, and it's stupid. So unfortunately, because this I've basically abused a quiz system for this poll. So the results here are I put the current points as the correct answer on every one.
Stephen thinks everything should stay the same.
Yeah, so the people that are at the top here, so we've got Stephen, Evelina, and Dario Def, are the ones that don't want many changes, and everyone else are the ones that want.
Steven's the madman who thinks nothing should change except Iron Sky attack should go up. I love it. I love it, Steven.
I just want to point out that even Stephen there, who's number 1, out of 19 questions, only 10 of them has he said that they should stay the same. On the rest, he must have voted for points drops, obviously. But so
the bingo home place here at the bottom is just like rewrite the whole book.
Yeah, well, even that where he joined late. But yeah, that's a broad spectrum there. So it's like lots of people are after points changes. So so that's the points changes. I think a lot of it is dependent on rules, because if things get nerfed in another way, then it's wishy-washy. Like But there you go. And it depends whether you're going for what you think things should be, what you'd like things to be, or what you predict things to do.
Oh, perfect! Right at the 60-minute mark. You timed it perfectly, Admiral.
So yeah, Lee, I think we have some couple of minutes. I think, unless you have something else prepared.
Oh, but we were going to talk about. I've lost Cron. Just noticed that. Don't know. So,
yeah, maybe we can all pick one thing from other armies that we'd like to change.
what for points?
Points or rules or what we think will happen. I mean, it's still a prediction show here, although I'm now tinfoil hat's getting warm.
Yeah.
I know.
It is a very good isolator.
It's a great conductor of body heat, isn't it? I'm finding that out, but I'm committed. They're not stealing my thoughts.
So, rules changes or points changes. What do we think is probably a problem in the game for KO?
Oh, a 4KO. Well, I guess you could still
It's a KO.
Croak is a problem potentially. I don't know. I mean, Croak just has for the game as a whole needs to go up.
But with Croak, I think it'll do the same as they did with all. They're just not gonna point Croak up 50 points, but they're gonna do him like 10 points. The Vortex another 10 points. The Asteroid Standard Bearer another 20 points. So they're gonna accumulate it. Like that's the combo everyone takes. Those 3 pieces, and do it that way. So in the end, he's just like 20 points up, or he himself.
Yeah. I mean, for rules changes, there's plenty of things from across the game that I think needs to change. And if we're talking just about points for other armies,
like general rules or faction specific ones.
Whatever, pick one.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead with some KO ones first. I think that the Zilfin footnote is gonna get changed. I think that's our main one. The way I see it, I think it's gonna get rewarded so that it works. You can use it at the end of your hero phase. So that prevents you from using the Zilfin footnote, then dropping the Vortex. So now you can do it. So that's part of the reason why I said that the Vortex will not go up or whatever. And the Chemist, if you do this, do you need to increase the points of the Chemist? I don't know. But I think that's the way they're going to attack this footnote. I think they're going to change the timing of the activation, because as a whole, it's a great rule. There's no denying that. But it's really strong. Some people said that. I think, Kron, that was your point. I'm not sure, but said they're going to nerf. They're going to remove the fly high thing.
That's my prediction. I think they're going to get rid of the fly high from the Zilfin. There's an FAQ that says you can. The FAQ that tells us you can fly high with the Zilfin move. I think they're going to just take that out.
Yeah, but you see, if you do that, you don't attack the main offender. You can still put the Vortex down first turn. While if you change the timing of the footnote, you can't do it. So I think that's why I'm gonna choose that the footnote will get rewarded, so that the timing will be different.
That's a really good prediction, Adeptus. I think that's probably the most elegant solution to the problem. Yeah. I could also see another option where they add, and instead of doing a designer's commentary, they make an errata where they add the line, just like in the Barrack Mornar redeploy trait, where you can't move or disembark after using the Always a Breeze if you look for it. So that way it'll sort of helps the 2 problems, which was flying high with 20 Thunderers and then dropping them out in the first turn, and that was also something that's a big problem for somebody. And so you wouldn't be able to do that. But also, if you fly high and drop the Vortex in their face as well, you're stuck there unless you just move back, 5 or 10 inches. So you're not just getting out of dodge, dropping the Vortex, and then piecing out. There's an accepted level of risk that you're going to have to take if you want to drop the Vortex in somebody's face, but it also stops you from just putting 20 Thunderers in your face, Sean.
I think I agree that they might reword that Sylphin footnote. The KO book.
And one thing that would not be popular as my second really out of the box pick. I already mentioned the Sky Warden getting like Battle Line Zon or Battle Line KO, but I'm gonna go with a very unpopular one. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I think it would make that particular model more attractive to lists. I think they might down the line, not for the FAQ, they're not going to rewrite that war scroll, but down the line they might put fly high as a command ability for the admiral.
Oh no!
I
Oh,
know
no.
they won't do that because it's too big of a change, but I think that would be something that would be interesting. It would be fluffy for the admiral to really control the fleet. It would give him something to the army that doesn't exist right now at a different purpose. But I might see that down the line. Not for this FAQ. I'm not saying that for this FAQ, but it might be something that we'll see because I think that the Sky mechanism is too strong. To be honest with you, I think that's something that a lot of players that play against KO really really complain about. So I think down the line they might keep the ability but put it on a war scroll, on a hero war scroll.
I can see triggering intensifies with a couple of people in this, this group.
I did say it would be an unpopular opinion. I did say that.
I just think the whole. I definitely could see that too, Adeptus. I think the main problem was that most of the book was balanced around the ability to fly high, and I think if you sort of restrict that to one, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I mean, I think that would be a huge hurdle to overcome, where they balance the whole book around being fly high. There's no plus to hit. There's no plus to wound. There are rerolls, but there's not a lot of, there is shooting power, but it's nothing compared to the output that some cities list can do, some Stormcast list can do. KO is not the shootiest army in the game. And I think that was balanced around our unparalleled mobility. Ironically, Stormcast can also have some of that, but so that would be a Thunderer's level nerf.
Yeah.
Something to talk about through the ages.
What you said, Alex, that people complain about the fly high. I think it's the fly high is not an issue because it's one model, or in best case eight models that fly high for objectives, because you can take 7 hitchers. I think people need to learn how to counter. It will take some time. We have no tournament this year, so maybe it will take a bit longer. But people already have started to screen out. Where do they put their faction? Where do they?
I totally
I don't think it's the, if they nerf that.
Yeah, fly high is one of those things that probably needs a change in some way. There's a whole host of things that need some clarification. A lot of them revolve around fly high, anyway. So it probably needs some rewording. It feels to me like it had some rewording last minute before the book was published anyway. And I think it probably needs to change. I think putting it to the Admiral is maybe a step too far. I was with you when you started saying make it a command ability type thing. Because at least then there's there's a resource you have to manage. But yeah, putting it only for the Admiral, I think is maybe too far. Another thing I can see them doing is just make it once per game per ship. So each ship can only do it once per battle. And then that encourages you to take more ships. And you have to use it more as a get out of dodge, which is what it feels like it should be. It feels like it should be like, oh no, I'm surrounded. What should I do? I'm going to hightail it out of it.
But the thing is, when they take this away from the war scroll, it screws over KO being allies.
Yeah, that's why
you take a gun holder as an ally, because it's fantastic. You can just teleport around. It doesn't have the gold. Okay, who cares? That's
why I said once per battle.
So I thought because you said command ability, maybe that's too much because then you have the tax of command points, and there's no big way to generate command points in this army. Maybe you have the
well, the Admiral
yeah,
as
to get one on plus. There's one in Zilfin. There's like 3 different ways.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's an Admiral.
I think Lee, if you make it once per battle and you do an errata on the War Scroll, I mean that wouldn't be terrible. I don't really fly high that much anyway. My regular opponents have, in whatever regular games I can get in the COVID era, which is few and far between, but they've already figured out, oh, cool, you can't fly high onto terrain. You can't fly high within an inch of terrain. So I'm going to use terrain as a unit. And so instead of like having to screen, my first couple games, they were like, I have to screen off the whole board. And I told them, maybe stupidly on my part, no, you don't. You have to screen where there's no terrain. Where else can my big, huge ironclad base fit that's near terrain, that's not within 9 inches of another model, that's not completely somewhere useless? You don't have to screen the back corner. There's nothing back there. You remove the objective. There's no objective over there. So they quickly realized to use terrain as one of their own units to prevent me from flying high. And it became really, really frustrating. And if you have 2 or 3 ships, if you have an ironclad and 2 gun haulers or a couple of frigates and an Iron Sky attack, you run out of options to fly high very quickly. So, I can see maybe the fact that there's the COVID effect where people haven't gotten a chance to play against KO a lot, and they finally get one game and they show up and they kind of can't really figure out how to tackle it, or they go to a tournament, they finally get to go to a tournament, and all of a sudden KO's just hopping all over the board, and I just think people didn't really get a chance to play against something that was so new.
Yes, I agree. Also with terrain, at tournaments we know there's always a bit less terrain than usual. If we follow the GHB rules, how it should be played, the game, that's so much terrain on the board.
That's true.
Yeah, it is.
People all do this, and they're all 6 inches away from each other. Already, it's hard to fit like an ironclad between, because you need 1 inch on both sides. I think the ironclad is 4.3 inches, 4.8 wide. So then it makes it difficult. So I don't think they'll not. I hope they don't. No, please don't.
When I'm playing,
like so much unappealing, because that's the fun of the KO. They can take their shooting where it's needed, but it's as Kyle said previously in the comments. It's just one model. You don't win objective games with one model.
Yeah,
I think if they want, this would be rewriting the whole book at this point. But if they did make it a once per battle, or they did make it a command ability, then give us the ability to score from the ships. Okay,
but that's trade-off.
So if I could, that's literally like rewriting the whole tome almost. But if you're gonna make it once per battle, or it's a resource, then you got to give me the ability to score from the ships.
But if they do that, that's powerful, because then now you have an ironclad with 25 people inside. You're 26, and you just need to be the ironclad like a.
That can't fly high. That can't fly high, or you had to waste one of your engine works to make it do it once per battle. Like, I don't see it as that big a deal.
That's why I said not for this FAQ, but down the line I could see that. Down the line. But again, if I do that, there are some trade-offs for sure. Might be a point drop for ships or whatever, but this ability to me is really strong. And Max made a great point when you said that in tournament games, terrain is more scarce, as it should be. Fly high would be less possible. That's true, but the ability to redeploy the whole army from one turn to the other. I mean, the first thing that was nerfed with Change Host for Zinj was a 2 teleport to 1 teleport. So the ability just to redeploy is so awesome in this game for so many reasons. That when you have an ability to have 3 or 4, maybe more if you want to play more ships, but then again, 3 is probably the max. I think that'll be looked at, to say the least. Not this year, probably not next year, but down the line, I could see a rework of some sorts from that rule for that rule.
Yeah.
So
I will say that I think that, Lee, you are completely right. When they were writing that fly high rule, I can just see this sort of internal struggle they had. They probably had one team write it and another team write it and then another team edit it and then another team look at it and then this, because that one phrase in there, you, instead of making a normal move, you can fly high. And then in parentheses, you can retreat and disengage. Or I don't know if that's exact, but it's like, but those two are fly high, disengage, and retreat are three separate abilities,
Yep.
and neither of them interact with each other. And it's almost like if you took that out, that little you can retreat and disengage in the parentheses, it doesn't change the rule at all. And it removes confusion, because some people, that actually causes confusion. So I think that's sort of a remnant that got left in by accident and overlooked.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, Lee, that they just rewrote that rule so many times and probably had so much internal strife over how they wanted it to be. And they wanted to play it cautiously and make sure KO just wasn't just obscene.
Yeah. There's another thing I wanted to point out. We talked about how terrain affects where you can land, but it's not just terrain, it's objectives as well. So you can't land within an inch of an objective. And then I played Better Part of Valor. You've got 8 objectives. Typically, people, when they set up a table, don't set up the terrain on the objective.
Well, they can't. It has to be 3 inches away.
Yeah, but they can. Typically, they won't even set it within 3 inches away. They set it outside of the 6-inch circles, especially honest wargamer style circle discs that they put on the table. They go, oh well, there's an objective there, so I won't put the terrain inside that circle. And then very soon you end up with even less space you can land, because you can't even fit between the terrain and the objective very easily, without even any modules there. So it's one of these weird things that the setup of the table massively affects the power of KO.
Yeah,
it's like it did with Sylvaneth in the past.
Yeah, Sylvaneth, when they start setting up their trees everywhere, because I think the tree also has only to be 1 inch away from our terrain, so they can just build block entire parts of the board from fly high. So yeah, I don't think fly high. It is a challenge for players to play against.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to bring up in the chat. So Stephen Moss suggested locking it to a skyport. No offense, Stephen, but I would hate that idea, because it's the same problem with the Zilfin fly high move, is that you have a very powerful ability and you make it only in a skyport, then it
What is happening? Sorry.
Is that Kron?
No, it's not. Just move on. Just move on.
Is it? Oh, okay. I was like, who do I mean? I don't know. But yeah, if you have a really powerful ability and it's in one skyport, then all of a sudden everyone takes that one skyport, because that's the one that lets you fly high. So everyone takes Zilfin at the moment because that's the one.
Yeah, and you would feel like you have to take this one. So all the other ones you wouldn't consider.
Yeah.
So I don't think locking it in is a good idea.
Yeah, Matt, maybe mute yourself for a second.
Can you mute Kron's mic?
You can mute yourself. Yeah. Okay. No, it's not him.
No, not me. Hey, not me. What did I do?
Is that Ether Pornhub or something like that?
So, and then the other thing in the chat was about making it like you could spend your gold on it, so the ship can spend their gold on it, which is an interesting suggestion.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, I think I shouldn't have gone there. First of all,
Well, this is what this
discussion
is about. It's like we did the points and now we're doing the rules. So
yeah, I think Matt is a solid point. I think that if you do massive change to fly high, I think you have to rewrite the whole book and build it around that. So
I honestly wouldn't mind a rewrite to the whole book. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I love the book. I love playing the army. I know I'm a relative newcomer compared to some of you guys. I really just started playing at this new battle tome, even though I bought all my models somewhere in fall of 2019. But I love playing the army. Love it. Love the lore. Love all of it. But yeah, I think they just slightly missed the mark, right? Like they're going for a bullseye and then just a little bit, but they're right there. And
no, I mean, I think when you look at the fact that we haven't even we've had a year since they wrote the book come out to think about Fly High and stuff, and we still haven't as a community come up with a consensus. Oh, like it's obvious they should have done this. That shows how hard it is to like balance a rule like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, just think about it. They have, like I said, I think this on the last show, they have a couple dozen internal play testers, I'm sure. They have a couple of dozen teams outside the outside their headquarters. Okay, I'm giving them a little bit of credit, but they have a bunch of.
I think it's like three or four.
They have play testers inside. They have a bunch of teams externally that they preview the rules and say, hey, play some games and tell us what you think, and that's all well and fine. But then they release a battle tome, and suddenly they have millions of people who think they know the rules, and they find all these combos so quickly because you suddenly have millions of games being played, and it's like, oh, you couldn't see this? How could you not see this? Well, because somebody across the world found it and then typed it on the internet, and now everybody knows it instantly. And it's like, well, this was so obvious. Well, it really wasn't obvious. They just, it's and we're all nerds. We love finding little loopholes and chips in the armor to exploit. And we're highly obsessive about the things that we love. So it's only natural that we're gonna, find it. Playtesting, I can imagine, is a massive undertaking. And then if you get it wrong, you have millions of people online screaming at you that you have no idea what you're doing. And so it's tough.
And with those words of wisdom, I have to let you go, guys. I have some family duty to take care of. So it's been nice to talk to you guys. See you soon. And let's see if thank you. And let's see if in a week or so how right or how wrong we will be. All right.
Yeah.
So take care. See you guys.
Thank you very much, Septus, and look after this big games.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Okay. So, are there? Oh yes, we lost Kron as well. Officially, because we'd already lost him. Man overboard. So are there any other rules that you think will be touched on from a balance point of view? How about spelling the bottle?
For
KO. Let's see for KO.
Yeah, people have been talking about just nerf spell in a bottle, make it only generic malign sorcery endless spells and not faction specific ones. I don't know, because I don't feel these FAQs and these halfway FAQs they do these major changes. Usually they stick to like points and like clarifications. Okay, when did they do Petrifix? No, that was a GHB. When did they do? So I don't expect it to be like a massive.
The problem with that, Max, is how do you say a malign sorcery endless spell? Like we say that because we know what we're talking about, but it doesn't have
it doesn't make any sense because it's not just malign sorcery; it's forbidden power.
Yeah, it's hard to word.
They don't have.
I suppose that they could just literally list the endless spells that you can take, like they did with the publications that you can use. But that is also, that would be a very clear indication that we made a mistake. We shouldn't have let you use Warp Lightning Vortex. Or maybe they say you can use any endless spell you want except Warp Lightning Vortex.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think they'll do it. They'll try to balance it through the chemist. Make the chemist 120 points. I don't know, maybe some other stupid.
Yeah,
fix Sylphin, right? They'll fix. And I don't mean to cut you off, Lee. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I'll go because I want to talk about the spend the bottle a bit more, and you were going to bring up Sylphin. I think one thing they could do with spend the bottle is they could make it so they say it's automatically cast on a 10, and therefore the enemy, your opponent, gets to have a chance of unbinding it, which
that's good.
Introduce some interaction. People don't feel like, oh well, they just get to cast a spell. They don't even have to roll for it. Like I can't do anything about it. It's not fair. They go,
then it's not worth taking a one-use artifact for that.
Well, it's
the only reason already the balance in that artifact is it's once per game. Even if you dispel the endless spell, you cannot use it again. It's a one per game thing that happens. It's an expensive endless spell that you need to pay the points for. So people keep forgetting. And you still need to pay the points for something I can use once. Whereas a Skaven player, he can use it 2-3 times in his game if he manages to dispel and cast it again. Mm-hmm. So then making it on a 10 or like make it a 12 Croak, I think Techless comes in, he can automatic dispel or unbind. Like, then why would I? Then the cost is just too much for too little. I mean, personally, already I went away from spell in the bottle. It's a neat trick, but it's a one-trick pony. It's good. But I'd rather. There's so many good artifacts.
I mean, Flare Pistol is so good, and people don't use it because they're just like Warp Lightning Vortex, and I can't really say too much about that because I use Realm Scourge Rupture a lot of times. I don't really like I like Realm Scourge Rupture specifically because I use double navigator, so I can debuff the movement of a flying unit, but I have no way to slow down or stop a unit on the ground like a block of 3 keepers or a block of the orc pigs. So I like using the Realm Scourge as a physical wall spell that I can stop, but also have move as well. So, but that's a sort of a stylistic choice. But I think most people just say, "Oh, any on the spell, Warp Lightning Vortex."
I agree with what Kuba says here in the chat, or what Adeptus suggested previously.
That's what I was about to
Make
say. It's
the
the same
end
thing.
of-
Just
end of
you're
hero
changing the
phase,
timing. But, yeah.
Fantastic. So now I actually, I mean, it's still a good spell, but I need to get there. And I the incentive of like a double turn with triple tap to the vortex is much smaller.
Yeah. Just for anyone listening, because obviously this will go out on a podcast later. What Cuba said was just lock it to the beginning of the hero phase. So it does the same thing as what Adeptus says. If you change the timing of either the spell in the bottle or the Zilfid move, then one of those two can basically make it impossible.
Yeah, I think if they change the timing to the bottle, is there some other offensive thing that we can do with the move when it's hero phase? When does the navigator thing happen? I think that's start of the hero phase, isn't it? The half move.
I don't know. One thing it would bring up is, in theory, you could cast it and then dispel it instantly.
You need to dispel endless spells, yeah.
Yeah, because they happen at the start of the hero phase, so you'd be spelling it. So in theory, you could cast it and then attempt to dispel it, which could be, I don't know, could be a
But
thing.
why?
I don't know.
I do like what Kuba had suggested, either, which ties into what Adeptus said. You make the spell in the bottle at the beginning of the hero phase, right? Or if you make it's always a breeze, if you look for it at the start of the hero phase. The one problem that I have with both of those solutions is that every single time in this game that they have had an ability or a way or a mechanism for you to move after a teleport, it has been a complete disaster, okay? Whether it was Mirror Pool, which they fixed. You could cast a spell. It was a realm spell from the Realm of Life where you could teleport yourself in the hero phase, and then you could still move after. That single-handedly won me several games at one particular Nova Open. There was Bridge of Shadows, which was an Ulgu realm spell. Same thing. They both got nerfed at the same time.
Pretty dingy.
Then you've got now you've got Zilfin. It's always there's always a breeze, and the orcs have a way to do this with the Hand of Gork, and they do it a little sneakily where they will teleport across the board, but outside of 9 inches, and then they can use their command ability to move if they're outside of 9 inches. So teleport, move.
They can even add something, vomit, cause damage. And then, because at the end of the turn, if the unit took damage, it's allowed to move. So they could damage their own unit with the vomit, I think, from the weird knob.
Yeah.
Teleport it, move it, and then in the charge phase, like charge again. Or
it's like in a 3d6 charge, isn't it? Because they're 3d6 from being Manhattan.
But then I have +3 and who knows what. Yeah.
Right. Every single time that they have had an ability where you can teleport and then move afterward, it's been a disaster, and they've nerfed it, but they never learned their lesson. There always is some way, and it's not necessarily so explicit all the time. Like the orcs is a little tricky that you have to watch out for, but it's never worked out. It's going to continue to not work out, and that's the problem with with Zilfin is you can move after you can teleport, and it's even worse because you can fly high and you can double teleport.
Yeah. So I mean, they did it with Zilfin before. Like that's what it was in the old book, was you could move in the hero phase and then move again, and then they changed it because it was a problem. And they've just done it again now with Stormcast, and I don't know. I mean, we spoke. Like, we have our own group chat on Facebook, and of course there's all the different WhatsApp chats. We spoke recently about the fact that there's a similar problem with charge bonuses after a teleport, and it's not just teleporting; it's bringing stuff off from reserve and then being able to move afterwards, or bring stuff off from reserve and then being able to charge. They're always going to be really powerful. It's just whether you let every army do it, and therefore you have to learn to play against it, or you keep nipping them in the bud and you learn to stop doing it.
Yeah. So I hope they elegantly find a solution to the Zilfin problem. But I think if they just go after Zilfin and people really want to do Warp Lightning Vortex for whatever reason, and they don't point the Chemist higher, they don't overly point the Vortex higher, I can see people, let me take another look at Mornar and see if I can sort of abuse the opportunistic privateers trait, which I love because that's my skyport of choice, and I have found it incredibly useful to redeploy the Ironclad, but there's no restriction. I can go on top of objectives. I can fly onto a piece of terrain. I can fly on top of an infinitely high, tower or castle and can never be reached. And there are a lot of, now you can't move afterwards. And I wish they would add this question to the FAQ. Can I fly high after I use the opportunistic privateer trait with Mornar? It says that I cannot make a normal move or disembark the first turn if I redeploy. Well, fly high is not considered a move. It's not a normal move. It's a setup. But the wording of fly high says instead of making a normal move. So that means, do I have to have the option, the ability to make a move in order to use fly high? Or am I simply not able to move and instead I can do this other thing? And I think we've talked about this exhaustively on the WhatsApp chat and our Aethercast chat. That's something I would love to see addressed, because I have to ask every single opponent, this is what Fly High says. This is what Opportunistic Privateer says. What do you think? I have to ask every TO when I go to an event. I have had a couple TOs say, absolutely, you can do that. And I've had some opponents say no. And so it's an awkward conversation to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because as soon as you even try and broach a conversation like that, your opponent instantly is like, well, what is he trying to do that he probably shouldn't be able to do?
You rule lawyering, win at all costs, super whack player. But it's really just, and I've told my opponent, listen, if you say no, it's totally fine. I can do something else. Don't worry. I've got all sorts of Mornar shifty tricks up my sleeve. But I just want to know where you stand on this. And I also just like to get people's opinions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is something that needs clarification. There's a few things that have we covered everything that could be touched on from a balance point of view. Okay.
I'd love them to make the other skyports more attractive. Because of the spell on the bottle combo, a lot of Zilfin gets played, and personally, I think Zilfin is one of the better ones. But just give me some incentives. But again, that's nothing I expect in a winter FAQ. That's something I expect in a Broken Realm book, or give us a seventh skyport, the skyport that broke down and crashed to Earth. I don't know what. The one that
I should know this because it was in the quiz recently. The lost one of began with Z. Trouble is, there's more than one.
Like they rediscover one that they thought was
off. Bring it up.
It's super strong. Like not super strong, but it gives us. I don't know
with the Lost City of Atlantis trope, won't it? and they're like Wakanda type things. Like whenever a civilization has been cut off from other civilizations for a long time, they must be massively powerful because that's how that works, obviously.
Something from a balance perspective that needs fixed, Lee? Vent plates. It is currently the most broken artifact in the entire game. Some say that vent plates is still going off even today because it never ends. Nobody takes it because everybody's expecting it to go away. But technically, right now, vent plates as written, because I am a win-at-all-cost rules lawyering piece of crap. You turn it on in your opponent's shooting phase, and it never.
Have you ever encountered a TO that said, "Yeah, it's gonna go through all your 6 games"?
Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, in a 5-round tournament,
my chemist is currently minus 700 to hit, so
yeah.
Every time I use it every game, it just stacks. So.
Oh well, I used it on turn 1, round 1, round 2, round 3, round 5. So I'm at minus 5.
It's still active.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, that needs clarification, and I think it's fairly obvious what they will do with that, and what they probably should do with it. Because I think one phase is good enough. Even if it's, I mean, if they wanted to be generous, they could say until your next hero phase.
It's the end of the round.
Yeah. Well, typically what they would do for something like that is the wording that they typically use for those sorts of things is until your next hero phase.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have a similar sort
of. It would be good if you get double turned.
I think if it's supposed to be this billowing steam cloud that's around, it makes sense that it obscures visibility, and that wouldn't really have an effect maybe too much on melee. So it's probably meant for just that shooting phase, which then obviously just completely eliminates it as a competitive option. But it's a pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean that depends on how much shooting there is in your meta. Like KO is popular.
Cities.
You got cities. You got Zinch.
I mean, you got Luminef, but they just don't care about modifiers anyway.
I can't imagine taking vent plates over flare pistol. If I'm not taking spell in a bottle, right? I can't imagine taking it over flare pistol.
Even Voidstone is better.
It's a second or third artifact choice, isn't it?
It's certainly not a bad option. I just there's the phosphorite bomblets. The problem is with our book, it's like there is so many great artifacts, so many good artifacts.
Which is awesome.
Man, what was the other obvious balance issue that I could remember? I knew it was vent plates was one of them, and man, I can't think of it. It's going to come to me when we're talking about something.
Well, there's a few others I've got that aren't from a balance point of view that just general things that need clarification. I'm just trying to think of any of them are balance related. We move on to the tedious, boring ones. No,
I should have. It's almost like I knew I was going to be on the show and I would have been prepared.
Yeah. So let's move on to the ones that the rules that need clarifications that don't really have necessarily a balance impact. So there's things like hitching technically doesn't work.
Here we go again.
Because fly high is a setup. I think the chat has just come to a rescue about the one that's a big balance issue. But yeah, so hitching technically doesn't work because it's fly high is a setup, and it says after the sky vessel is moved, you can then remove the sky riggers from the table. But the sky vessel never moves, so you never actually trigger being able to use the ability, the second part of the ability. So that just needs clarifying. That just needs to be errata and tweaked.
The other one that I wanted to say but luckily it's not a balance issue. It's now just like a clarification issue. Is technically Barrack Thring is not even a working skyport because technically I guess it is a working skyport, but it's not working as intended because all of the all the Duardin units that are 1 and 4 don't gain the Kharadron Overlords keyword, so technically they're allies and they're limited to 400 points.
No, they are not. They are not allies.
No,
well, there's a lengthy explanation by Warhammer Weekly Tom why they are not.
Yeah,
allies.
I could
I
make
think
that
they deliberately said they do not gain the Kharadron keyword for reasons that
So
what
if
Kharadron can do.
we're going to go into it without getting too explaining too long, is essentially when you write a list or you build an army, you choose your allegiance before you choose your units, and therefore you have your allegiance ability before you put your units in that lets you decide. And so you already have your ability that says that you can have 1 in 4 units that aren't Kharadron Overlords. So it's just like a chicken and an egg thing. If it was the opposite way around, whereas you chose your units first, and then that determined whether you could be KO and therefore be barrack freeing, then it would be the opposite way around.
I always just assumed that they needed the Kharadron Overlords keyword to be in a Kharadron Overlords army, or else they're allies. I'm not going to try to delve into the bowels of the core rules, and that's something I thought could use clarification, because I always knew that cities and the Stormcast allies or the Stormcast or the Sylvaneth or in Tempest Eye, the Kharadron Overlords units that you take in Tempest Eye gain the Cities of Sigmar keyword. So I thought that was probably an oversight, but obviously I'll take your word for it.
So the problem stems from the fact that they don't use the same methodology in all the books.
Right, exactly. So I assumed that because they took that extra step in the Cities book and they didn't in the KO book, that it was an oversight. But I'll yield to the Tom Lyons Overlord.
It certainly wouldn't hurt to have an FA, like a designer commentary, to say, "Can I do they count as are they allies?" And then just no.
Say no. Yeah, they're good.
They can be allies. You can have allied Dwarden units to circumvent the whole 1 in 4.
Yeah.
So you can actually have 1 in 2 can be Dwarden, although half of them need to be chosen as allies and the other don't.
Yeah. So let's talk about Attack Squadron, because it's been brought up in the chat.
Kuba from the bleachers.
Yes. So there is a problem with that, which is you get people asking all the time, like, can I fly high and then get out using the Attack Squadron? And my understanding of it is you can't, because flying transport says you can't get out of a ship if it's flown high or moved. And then Attack Squadron says you can get out of the ship even if it's moved, and doesn't mention fly high. So I think that would just be really helpful from a designer's commentary point of view, just to clear that up. Cuba put that has.
It's going to be a case of if a rule doesn't need clarification, we won't write an FAQ, and they think it's clear.
Yeah, except for the fact you get someone asking every week.
I mean, it's a very commonly asked question, and I hate to be so, but I mean, for me, it seems pretty clear. Like,
same here.
Fly high is not a move. And everybody and every time this question comes up, especially in the Facebook group, I say no, because fly high is not a move. And then somebody says, "Well, where's that?" Well, it's buried in the core rules FAQ from like 2 years ago, and that's the problem. Like, one of our core mechanics is based on a FAQ that was written 2 years ago, specifically, I believe, for the Wanderers, where they could all come off from the board edge, but then they could not count moving for the Eternal Guard. And so it just, I think a new edition of Age of Sigmar, which I can safely assume is maybe coming up this summer, perhaps, I think is going to clarify a lot of this stuff that this FAQ won't. But I think it's pretty clear, but it's a commonly asked question, like you said.
Yeah, I think that's a valid statement. They will not clear too many things in this FAQ if we'll see a new edition summer or maybe autumn, because we have some month of delay still from last year.
Yeah. So,
a lot of people ask too if you can. A lot of people ask if for Iron Sky attack, if you can get in the boat, fly high, or move. Not even so. Say we already assume, just say for the sake of argument, you cannot fly high and get out of with an Iron Sky attack. Can I embark in the boat, move, and then get out again? That's something.
I think the garrisoning rules will prevent you from this, because because getting inside a garrison is instead of a move. Getting out doesn't say instead of a move, but it's a redeploy. So you're double tapping in this. I'm not
It says
moving, but I'm
count.
doing two things instead.
Right.
And I think how they want it to work is no, because it would also mean you could enter a building and exit it on the other side, doing like a 20-inch move or however big the building is.
Mhm.
But I agree, it's not overly well specified.
I was going to say, because Maxon, what does instead of move mean? Instead of making a normal move, what does that mean? You know?
Well, yeah. The trouble is they have the FAQ for Skaven, which is very similar, which basically is like, oh, well, I have this thing that says I can't move, and then I have this other thing that I can teleport instead of making a move. And it's like, well, it basically, if you base it on that ruling, then you can do it. So, but it's fairly obvious that it's not meant to work like that. So I think it's a case of the garrison rules were not really written with this in mind.
No, and also they kind of often in FAQs, buried in some FAQ from Beast of Chaos 5 years ago, they start to contradict themselves in some rules, which is also a problem.
With this battle tome, they definitely built this brand new luxury skyscraper on top of a shaky foundation.
Yeah. So oh, and we've got Age of Nagash in the chat. Cool to have him on here. Hope he's enjoying the show. If you haven't checked out his channel, then you should definitely go have a look there.
How about the crazy fun interaction where the Engine Master in Dirigible Suit's command ability says that you can make them the Engine Riggers re-roll their repair roll, but that happens at the command ability you use at the start of the hero phase. But the Engine Riggers, it has to be done
the other way around. I think.
It's the other way around. Yeah, the Engine Riggers repair at the start of the hero phase, but you can't use the command ability until the hero phase.
So there's I think Nico explained this to me once in a chat, and there's an FAQ somewhere that explains because this command ability is triggered by when before they try to repair, you can use it out of sequence, out of the normal order. And there is some explanation somewhere. I think it's Stormcaster. I don't remember.
For the simplicity of it, it would have just been easier just for them to add the word start or the start of the hero phase into his ability. Is there a reason why their ability needs to happen at the start of the hero phase?
They want it maybe so you. I have no idea.
No, because if it was at the end of the hero phase, I could think of a reason. Like they would want you to not be able to heal the boat before Zilfin flying high somewhere. But
I don't think they thought that far. To be honest,
forcing it to be at the start of the hero phase seems, unless it's to stop you getting a command point somehow.
But you already have the command point. Like when you start your turn, you have it.
I mean, there are ways to get extra command points. So whether it's to stop you getting an extra command point before you decide to do that, but
they don't.
Or the fact that you have to decide if you want to use your command ability to get that heal before you roll for your Engine Master, your Engine Master's heal, or anything like that. I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean,
but then the other one is just flat free. So
yeah, I know. It just seems so. And what I meant is, I think we all know how it's supposed to work, but it would just be nice to have an errata. Just that's all you need to do. And it's so simple.
Yeah, an errata would help, but there's an FAQ that explains it and legalizes it. And so they would say it's obvious the rules is out there.
We FAQ for my Kharadron Overlords rules, and you can't expect.
But that's how they work. If they say it's clear, like if you go through 5 FAQs and you study law and then you figure it out, it's there. It's there. The rule is there. It's written. We don't need to do anything.
I think 95% of all players play in their garage or at homes. They, it's sort of a fun game for them. And there's this 5% of us that are just take this to the extreme, take this hobby game to the extreme, and we're the ones that are finding it. And then, but I don't think most people are going to go through every single FAQ and say, well, how does this affect my? How does this? There's an FAQ for the Flesh Eater courts that is hugely impactful for a Spider Fang faction army building, and I think that's ridiculous. and so I don't think new players don't do that, and I don't think they should have to.
No, I agree. I totally agree. But
I don't mean
in
to
my
keep this on.
experience, that's just how they work.
I'm a tangent machine, so.
So yeah, I'm just trying to check. Oh, I was trying to check my list, but let's bring up this question from the chat. So, which is, can we explain the pin them, shred them, finish them, thunder rule, and how it applies to all the special weapons, and one, not just one of them?
Would you like me to read the pin them, shred them rule?
First of all,
Oh.
great name, Navi or Dev. You just won AOS. Fantastic name.
So here's the pin them, shred them, finish them rule. The narrative text is, Thunderers use the specialist weapons they are armed with to launch a deadly combination of attacks that leaves the target reeling. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with a Grundstock mortar, deck sweeper, or Aether cannon when it is used by a unit that has at least one of each of these weapons, i.e. at least 1 mortar, 1 deck sweeper, and at least 1 Aether cannon. This ability cannot be used by a model that is part of a garrison.
Okay, so I think his question was, does it just work? Like, if I have a set of each, it works for those, and the other cannons I bring, they don't get the buff.
No, I think the question that I've seen other people ask or pose in the past is that you have to choose one of those types of so it either works for Aether cannons, or it works for mortars, or it works for deck sweepers. It doesn't necessarily work for all three, is what I've seen some people say in the past. And I think it's based on the minutia of the wording. But
add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with a Grundstock mortar, deck sweeper, or Aether cannon when it is used by a unit that has at least 1 of each of these weapons.
I think it's
so just add 1 to hit for one type of weapon.
Yeah.
Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with a
Or
mortar
instead of
or cannon.
Because why wouldn't they say and?
I think it's because it says A first of all, so it says to A, and then it's another one of those things where it's like it's obvious how it's meant to work, especially when I mean sometimes you have the benefit of knowing how rules worked in previous books.
We or death. I am taking cannons all day, every day, all day long. I love my deck sweepers. Love those deck sweepers. I think the models are ace. That's my favorite looking special weapon is the deck sweeper. But Aether cannons are
the deck
true.
sweeper has 5 barrels, but it only has 4 shots. Explain.
FAQ, do it, make it 5. But it has 5 attacks after it gets +1.
Yeah.
There you go, Max. The other one is jammed, but once he gets close, he just keeps spamming the trigger button, and it eventually fires out.
Yeah, so I think it's just
the deck sweeper looks like a tool they would use. Like they just shove they just use like the air, and they're just sweeping the cannon just by like shooting the air and cleaning off the deck. The cannons are the truth. That especially if you give them +1 to hit, they're 3s and 2s, Ren 2 D3, 4 of them.
And then you get an extra shot if there's an enemy within 3 inches.
That's when
and then rerolling hits with the gold, so you're a 3s rerolling, 2s Ren 2 D. I mean, just
rerolling 1s with the chemist that's there anyway.
So money. They're just so D3 damage at Ren 2.
And that's why I don't care about this stupid spell.
Unless you're facing Coalesce Seraphon, then deck sweepers are the truth.
Yeah, I mean they're just like when they're outside and you use this pin them, shred them rule, they just become like 2 ether rifles.
I mean, let's be honest. You take 1 mortar, you take 1 fumigator. You can take a couple fumigators if you really want to make sure that -1 to hits applied over the whole unit. But you take 1 mortar, you take 1 fumigator, you take max cannons, max deck sweepers, and then the rest are rifles, right?
I mean, you don't even need the fumigator for that rule. So you could even go without any fumigators.
So that's an interesting question. I'd never even considered that all the special the deck sweeper and the cannon, because the mortar, I mean, whatever. But I never even considered that it's deck sweeper or cannons.
Well, it's not even just that. Like, say if you had a unit of 20, then if you could read it in a way that it's like you pick one of your Aether cannons, not 4 of them, just one of them, because it's a.
That's what I've.
Rolls for attack.
It's ridiculous for it to work that way. So, like the
That's the reason I want Thunderers at 80 points.
Well, Lee, I'll say this. Maybe it could be interpreted that it's talking about the weapon profile and not necessarily just one model with the cannon, but you're talking about adding one to hit rolls for one of those weapon profiles. But still,
it would be such a nerf.
Yeah, I think it's just poorly written.
Because Thunderers, those points are only valid if they're on the ground with this ability and special weapons. Because 20 in a ship, 10 in a ship, the output they do for the points are not justified, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think as an intention sort of thing, it should work on all of the weapon profiles.
Mm.
Maybe it would be helpful just to have an errata there, just to change it to, just to say all at the beginning, or say rather than having or, then it could say and would be helpful. So I think lastly, the only thing we haven't possibly covered is getting a little bit niche now, but it's Grudge Bearer and the auxiliary objectives. So specifically the ones that you choose a hero in the enemy army because they happen at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
you can choose the order.
Yeah, do you choose before or after? Is the question.
Both at the start of the battle, after deployment. Both these things at the same time.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you explain this like I'm 5?
Okay.
Warhammer. Like
you paint them.
Okay, maybe I'm 10.
Okay. No, there's the auxiliary objective. I think it's called Grudge, or I don't know.
I think it's
like you can choose an enemy hero.
Mm-hmm.
Your opponent chooses one. Doesn't matter.
I think there's 2 of them that are very similar, but I think the one that's important is the one where you get to choose it.
And if you kill it with a hero of your choosing, then you fulfill this objective. And it happens battle the same time that when you decide the Grudge Bearer trait, which is the enemy that you're going to do double damage. It happens at the same time both.
When do you choose your grudge for a Grudge Bearer?
After deployment, before the start of the battle, after deployment.
And that's the same time that you choose your auxiliary objectives.
So if it were me, I would roll off. Mm-hmm. Whoever wins picks first. But you're right, that is an interesting interaction.
I would say we both choose auxiliaries, and then I do this. How does he know when I need to choose? I mean, why would I choose it then anyway?
I mean, that's a niche one anyway. So.
It's a niche one, but I've always played it this way.
Because there's a quite a bit of a benefit to you, because like if you know, because there's also one of them, maybe it is this one where your opponent chooses the hero. So if they choose the hero first, and then you get to choose your Grudge Bearer after they've chosen the hero, you can then select to have it on him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I think that's all of them. Is there any others that we've missed?
For KO?
I mean, I'm sure that in a game this complex, you're always going to have.
I have one more, which is
let's do it.
Objectives, and this is semi-clarified by the Sons of Behemoth FAQ, which is there a difference between gaining control of an objective or retaining control of an objective? Because models inside a ship don't count towards gaining control of an objective. But if you already control the objective, are you?
No.
Are you? But
I have thoughts on this.
No. No.
Yeah, basically.
Like if you jump onto an objective, they do not count. But then if it's someone who walks onto it, suddenly they count inside the ship. No.
No.
I don't think that's how it's intended. But like, and I posed this question to somebody in my gaming group who brought up the point. So so you check for ownership of the objectives at the end of the battle round, at the end of the player turn. You always check for who owns all objectives. You only score if it's your player turn, but you check for ownership of the objectives at the end of the player turn. Now, he theorized that in that case, they reset at the start. And then, so if I take first turn, top of one, I do whatever I want on my turn. You check for ownership of all the objectives. I own this one. He owns that one. I score points. They all reset to 0. And then at the end of his player turn, you check again. And so you're always gaining control. You're never holding an objective. Technically, they're always being gained.
But how do then these battle plans work that give you more points the longer you keep the objective? Because from that logic, I would always be at 1. Because I just
that's consecutive turns being, I guess. I mean, I think that would probably be a special case, but that was what I mean. I'm just saying that's what his thoughts on it, and I thought that was really interesting. The mechanic on.
There's a simple explanation, which is there is no retaining control thing. It's the same thing as what your friend has said, but except for the fact they don't reset. It's just that if your opponent walks onto the objective, you're checking to see if they gain control, not whether you retain control.
Exactly.
So the only mechanic involved is has a player gained control of the objective.
Because
it's a perspective thing. You can't say, oh, well, it's different because from my perspective, I'm retaining control, but from your perspective, you're trying to gain control. It's just like, well, it's just this one mechanic, which is.
But for your example, I gain control in my turn. Mm-hmm. I walk off the objective. It's empty. I still score it by how the rules are written. I still score it, but from your interpretation or your friend's interpretation, I'm not gaining it, so I wouldn't score because there's no models on it. But Age of Sigmar works. I plant my flag. I walk off until someone else comes. It's mine.
Tango.
Well, it's because the other person has gained control of it. So
if they did models on it as well,
and then it's my next turn, I still score it.
Yeah, I understand that. It's because
the rule says I keep this objective. And you said your interpretation or your friend's interpretation was you cannot keep objectives. You need to regain them every turn. That would mean I need to keep models on the objective. Which in AOS is not necessary.
I think what Lee said applies. It's all about perspective because I gain control of it and there's no mechanism to retain control, but I've gained control of this objective and it's mine. I understand being reset. It was just a way to sort of explain the thinking quickly. But you leave. If I gain control of it and leave, my opponent is always trying to gain control of it. And if they don't gain control of it, I don't retain it. I just haven't lost it. So it's just a perspective. So I see Max having like I don't know.
Before we delve to go down a rabbit hole, I think the main thing is to just remember that there isn't a mechanism for retaining control. It's just the only mechanism in the game is for gaining control, and that's why.
And checking who has it.
You never count if you're in the ship, basically. And then that will also apply for stuff like Places of Arcane Power, I believe, which don't use score rules.
The only thing where your hero affects the objective inside a boat is like things like Scorched Earth or Total Conquest, I think, where he scores extra. Because it just says he needs to be within 6.
So what I see is because they gave an answer in the Sons of Behemoth FAQ, but they didn't explain it. So what I just like to see is a clarification of, no, this is why it's like this. So there isn't any well, I theorize it this way. My friend theorizes this way. It's just like, no, this is how it is.
I predict We will not get that explanation.
Probably not. But on the topic of
Can we do like a quick like summary of the kind of the questions that we are hoping to get clarification on, real quick?
Yes. So.
So Zilfin or hero
Yeah.
base.
Fly high. Is it like what is instead of basically like how like more clarification on exactly when you can and can't fly high, like because that would be really helpful. And the same with like that applies then to the Mornar thing as well.
Yes.
Vent plates, just do what we all think it needs to do. Attack squadron, just clarify that it's if they move the same phase, then no, flew high the same phase you can't, because obviously if you flew high in the hero phase you still could. What else did we mention? I don't know.
Oh, and then pin them, shred them, finish them.
Yeah.
But I don't know if a lot of people, I haven't seen that question asked before. I don't know if they're even aware of the issue.
I saw it in the issue group when it, last year.
So essentially what we're waiting for, what we're bracing for are points changes, how they're going to deal with the Zilfin problem, and then a smattering of other, basically clarifications and erratas. But really what we're waiting for are points changes and if they're going to deal with the Zilfin problem, right?
And spelling
Yeah.
bot.
Points.
And spell model.
Yeah.
Points and some explanations. That's all I expect. I don't expect erratas, but more like FAQs explanations.
And then we would like to get some designers' commentaries on some things just to help clarify them, but we probably don't expect them.
No.
I really like when they go into detail on the designer's commentary and they write, this is how we originally intended this to work, and we were thinking this. Like they've done that on a couple of them, and I really, really appreciated getting into the minds of the rules writers a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
The
All
danger
right.
is the more they write in an FAQ, the more chance they have of accidentally breaking something.
Can we do a prediction? When do we think the FAQ is going to drop?
Okay. So it's
As a last, everybody's pulling up their calendars.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to go with the 25th.
Ooh.
25th.
That means I've had a month after Christmas.
I'm going to go with the 26th because we all want it on the 25th and we'll be disappointed once more by GW and it will be the 26th. Out of the blue.
I think it's going to be February. I'm going to go. I think it's going to be February 1st, and it's going to be like a cheat. We said later this month, but 1 day is no big deal. So I'm going to say February 1st.
February 1st. I'm going to go 26th and lead as the 25th.
Yeah. And they will all be wrong because it will be the 29th.
Yeah. So everyone in the chat, let us
Monday.
comment below. Don't forget to like the video. I learned from Coach that you need to say this.
Yeah.
Like it and subscribe and click the bell.
Click the bell icon. Yeah.
Give it a look.
And tell us what you thought. What do you think needs changing? What do you hope will change or get clarified? Maybe there's something that we missed if you're looking or watching this later. What you think needs explanation or clarification. Let us know. Maybe it's something that we think we know and we can explain in the next show, just to help you out.
Yeah. And then, sorry, quickly bring something up because I want to quickly screen share something. But yeah, we will come back to this once the FAQ has come out to see how right and wrong we were. Get our reactions because
here's the list, the big list. I don't know if you can see. It's a bit bright.
It's very bright. So
a long list of points by everyone.
Very nice. I think I'm definitely going to be pretty behind on that because some of the questions I was answering as what I think they will do, and some of them were what I think it should be. So it's going to be a hodgepodge.
You're predicting that you're like on the lower end. Okay, I'm going to write this down.
Yeah. So yeah, and there will be some left turns or unexpected things that we're obviously bring our reactions to on the next show.
Our anger.
So
Rage.
we'll be looking at what it actually means for list building and stuff, because no doubt that, we'll get the impact of things, and then we'll have to run the numbers on the points and start looking at this, and
This-
maybe like, well,
I can't wait. I can't wait. That's my favorite. Like the list building phase is one of my Yeah, I think
will we get leaks for this FAQ?
I don't know.
The last time we had leaks, and I was building so many lists, and was so happy. And I remember Philip, he said, "No, it's not real. It's not real. It's not going to happen." I was like, "You need to believe. You need to believe. Be a believer." And everything was correct, and that was
the list building phase is one of my favorites. I think the 2 points changes I would love to see is I want frigates to go down a little bit at least, and God help them if they raise points on engine riggers.
And also,
I'm so angry on the internet, it will make their head spin.
If they do something with the other armies that we can ally, if there's some way to make Barrack Fring viable, or like changes to Tempest Eye because all the cities things got changed. It's not just KO for me. It's just a lot of armies because they all like play together. Exciting times. But yeah.
So one last thing before we say goodbye, just want to bring this on screen.
Tinfoil hat's getting a little hot. Come on, hurry up.
Oh, it's quick. It's quick. I have recently, I don't even know if many people know this exists, but on YouTube, you have, if you go on someone's channel, you have this tab here that says channels. If you click on that, I've recently updated mine for the featured channels and added a whole load of, I don't know why there's two on here, but because they should have the same things in. Oh no, go on this bottom one, there's more. I've recently updated that, so there's a whole load of cool Age of Sigmar channels on there. So have a look through them and check them out, because there's loads of really good Age of Sigmar content creators out there.
Yeah.
So
Can I? I'll make a suggestion. I'll make a suggestion to add one to that list, Lee. Off the air, or on the air. Yeah, it's a podcast called In Your Phase. My game. It's done by my gaming group, the Left Coast Corsairs, and they speak to some Warhammer 40K, but also Age of Sigmar, and it's competitively focused. So if people like what they hear on Aethercast, they can get sort of a competitively focused podcast that's all Age of Sigmar, not just Kharadron Overlords.
Yeah, I just realised that a lot of the ones I added aren't showing in here for some reason, which is actually
so yeah. I can just say Caleb. He's a dirty salamander toad player, but I really like his show, and I like the kind of battle reports he does. He just shows some pictures of situations on the board and explains why he did something and what happened, to give you an idea. And I've learned quite a lot how to play against Seraphon from his channel. So go check him out.
Yeah.
Northern Invasion's a great podcast. And Stu, I've got your beer all posted, all packaged up, and I'm sending him some beer from my local brewery.
Northern Invasion is on this list, but it's not showing for some reason. They have got tons of KO battle reports, so definitely go check them out. So yeah, as well as hitting subscribe and like on us, then go check out some of those channels, subscribe to them too.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I think that's it. Thank you both for joining, for wearing tinfoil hats.
I mean, you see, everyone else dropped out.
Yeah.
Except for the tinfoil hat boys.
So, I mean, tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
Lee, invest in tinfoil.
I like the way you put it across your ankle then, like it's party time now, just for a second. Thank you, Kron and Adeptus as well. And Carl as well for keeping people company in the chat earlier on, and everyone that joined in the chat live as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everyone. We'll see you next time. But